Today I would like to talk about the history of graphic design and how this has changed in more recent years. So take my hand and come with me as we dive once more into my deep design pocket and learn everything you need to know about the history of graphic design.
So Jay, just what is graphic design? Well, its foundation is based in problem solving using illustration, iconography, photography and typography. Graphic design is part of a visual communication family. It is often related to the creation of icons, text and images that create visual representations of ideas and messages. Graphic design is composition, magazine layouts, advertising billboards, web pages, book covers, points of sale, your nan's lottery ticket. All of these have once been a question that has turned into a visual answer. Graphic design is strongly tied to corporate design such as branding and logos and annual reports, a professional industry that thrives on concepts and creativity. Some people consider themselves to be a designer and others an artist, but the truth is that if you are in this profession, then you are both. Art and design have been siblings from the very start of human existence. It has been part of our culture from the very start and hard to divide the two. The separations between design, art, advertising and fine art are so blurred now that it's hard to draw a definitive line between them. Despite its long and lengthy history throughout the centuries, graphic design was not officially given a name until the 20th century. In 1922, a typographer and book designer called William Addison Dwiggins coined the phrase in an essay titled "New Kind of Printing Calls for New Design," and it has stuck ever since. That is one of the reasons why the profession feels like a new beast to many people. That and the advancements of technology that constantly move the possibilities of problem solving within the field. The constant refreshing gives the profession a new lease of life with every technological step forward. Philip B. Meggs, who's the author of A History of Graphic Design, which was published in 1983, wrote, "The essence is to give order to information, form to ideas and expression, and feeling to artifacts that document human experience." Graphic design first showed how powerful it can be, for good and for bad, back in 1737. Benjamin Franklin used his newspaper, the Pennsylvania Gazette, to promote his own views and books to the masses, effectively becoming one of the first to use text and image to influence people's opinions. Needless to say, he eventually became the 6th President of the United States, a clever move that used the up-and-coming print technology of the time to his advantage. This is not so dissimilar to Donald Trump's questionable mastery of social media during his first election campaign in 2016. During the latter half of the 19th century, the United Kingdom was one of the frontrunners to physically produce and print an official publication. This marked a further separation of design and fine art at that time. This also ushered in the next stage of evolution, which is, we know it as 20th century design. An example of one of the most important pieces of design that is still used today and recognised throughout the whole world is the signage for the London Underground. In 1916, Frank Pick collaborated with Edward Johnston to design a new typeface for the London Underground, a typeface that we now know as New Johnston. As far back in 1908, the London Underground had been using a red circle with a centralised blue bar as a backdrop for each of the stations. When Johnston got involved, this developed one of the strongest rebrands the UK has known today, and it is still as effective today as it was back then. While graphic design was a useful tool during the First and Second World Wars and generated some very memorable propaganda campaigns, it wasn't until post-World War II that it really came into its own. After the world had been rocked for so long by death and plight and rationing and violence, the need for more positive imagery and branding for the economy was great. Advertising and packaging took on a whole new lease of life, promoting life-enhancing products, dreams of a happy future, and a general feeling that things were going to get better. Advertisers and brands wasted no time on capitalising on this rising consumerism. This also kick-started the beginning of the term modern graphic design, with such powerhouses like Paul Rand, Joseph Muller-Brockman and Adrian Frutiger becoming big names within this rapidly rising industry. Consumerism began to increase, and with it the need for branding, advertising and packaging. The latter half of the 20th century ushered in a fast-moving, restructured approach to graphic design. Designers could work alone or collaborate with others, forming groups of people all trying to solve the same problem in a creative way. Design companies like The Partners and Total Design formed supergroups of creative minds to tackle branding on multiple levels, giving us many inventive and thought-provoking solutions to corporate branding, global identities, packaging and advertising, many of which are constantly referenced today as a golden age of ideas, and many of which have been copied, recreated and mimicked time and time again since their inception. What began as pencil sketches on a drawing board in the early 1960s has now moved to a digital image on screen. Technology once again pushing the envelope. The days of pasting boards are generally a thing of the past. Clients now want things faster than ever. The development of technology has vastly changed the landscape of the development speed. When I started working professionally in London back in 1999, we were still printing out presentations, mounting them onto foam board, packaging and couriering them to the client for approval. The feedback could take days days to weeks before the next stage could be developed. Concepts are sent digitally across the world with the click of a mouse, and feedback can often be instantaneous. The speed in which a client can now select a design option, make a change, and potentially increase the breadth of the brief is staggering. In just the last 20 years, myself and many colleagues have had to constantly adapt to the advancements in technology and the requirements of the client that often rapidly change within their own sectors. Today, the need to have a large team in a London office was starting to rub up against freelancers and smaller home office-based companies that were equally as flexible but without the giant overheads. Fast forward to 2020 and you have many middle-sized businesses scaling right down, using freelancers to fulfill the briefs that once took a room full of people. As technology advances once more, it becomes apparent that the majority of designers can work from smaller and remote locations on a more flexible basis. This flexibility is driving forward a more fluid approach to creative ideas, and while I do think this is a logical evolution, I also feel that this move towards people working from home unpicks the idea of minds coming together and solving a common design problem. This is a dilemma that collaborative graphic design now faces, and whether the future develops into VR community gathering on online offices or just using Skype and Zoom for more than just meetings, it would be a shame to lose the collective solutions that can only come from interacting creatively with others. And while the technology is a big driver within the design industry, it is still the idea that is paramount above all else. A good idea is still a good idea, however badly it is executed. A bad idea is still a bad idea, however well it is executed. Concept is king, and graphic design is ultimately about problem solving and ideas. Ideas, ideas, ideas. And it is those ideas that will continue to drive this creative industry forward into unknown depths. And there you have it, a quick skimp over the history of graphic design and a fleeting past at what the landscape looks like today. I hope you've enjoyed our short but informative chat today. I know I did, and I'm looking forward to where this all goes next. But for now, as always, be good, stay safe, and be kind to one another.